Okay, so welcome to the webinar session, Community Development in the United States. And good morning to Mr. Louis Rahil from
Thank you.
from US. And good evening to our students and the faculty. So today we have the resource person, Mr. Louis Rahil from US, United States. He's the Assistant Director of Community Development of the City of Coppell, right, in the state of Texas in USA. And if I give you a brief introduction to his background, he has done his Bachelor of Science degree from in biology from the University of Texas at Arlington, and the MBA, Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Texas at Arlington as well. And I think he has a lot of experience in this area, community development, and not only the community development, all the other areas as well, the related areas as well. So he will explain how to, do the community development in the United States. And being a developing country, Sri Lanka, we can learn the best practices from US, right? How to do the community development, how to develop a community department, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to take a lot of time. Let me hand over the session to Mr. Louis Rahil.
Good morning, everybody. Let me just share my screen real quick, and then you see my screen. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Sisne, for inviting me to speak today. A little bit background on myself. My name is Louis Rahil. I was born and raised in a third world country, Lebanon. I was born in the Civil War, so I really understand what it takes for a country to develop itself. And for you to have the initiative to connect with us, to give you a glimpse or a glance of how to do community development in the United States, it's a testament of the great work you're all about to do. Because when it comes to community development, it is one of the most important things a government or a city or organization can ever do. And the way I want to do it today is I'm going to give you 3 theories that we do before we even start to develop a community. And I'm going to give you 6 components on how to develop a community. Long time ago, this is how we used to think about community. We used to think, it's a collection of homes, like 60 homes, 100 people live in a place. We call that a community. But that changed dramatically in the last 100 years. Even in the last 50 years, it changed dramatically because people now move where jobs at. People move where schools at. So it's really harder to build a community where everybody knows everyone. So before we build a community, we do something called the Bastel analysis. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And we talk about how can we create 3 places in the community. And then we form identity. And then at the end of it, that's when we build a community. So building a community comes number 4 on our list when we try to build a healthy community. So the Bastel analysis is this. I got hired to do, the community hires me to build their community. The first thing I'll do what's called Bastel analysis. I want to know the political climate. What is it like? The economical climate. What is it like? Social infrastructure, is it there? The technological infrastructure, environmental infrastructure, the legal infrastructure. I have to go into each one of those to understand what I'm working with, right? So if I want to invite Apple or Microsoft to be in my community, I need to make sure I have the technological infrastructure for them. At least I want to know, do we even have internet in the community? Do we have a building to host them? So those are the things that we need to think about, and I'm about to go into those one by one. So the political climate. There's a lot of factors that works into building community. Number 1 is the political climate. include government policies, leadership, internal politics issues, tax policy, regulation, and deregulation. We want to make sure that we have the political climate in the city, community, or organization to be able to build a community. Like, for example, one of the biggest challenges we have in the United States is our tax policies, right? Companies, when they come to the United States, they know they need to pay 20, 30% taxes, right? This is a challenge for us because a lot of companies say, why do I want to go to the United States if I pay a lot of taxes? And that's where cities come in and say, you know what, if you come into our community, we can waive some of that taxes for you. We could give you what we call tax abatement, meaning like you could be in our community and instead of paying 30% taxes, maybe you pay 15, 20% taxes. And that's how a community become competitive to attract more businesses into their city. So you need to know your government policies, your leadership. Does your leadership want American company to be in towns, or Indian companies to be in town, or Lebanese companies to be in towns? What is the political climate? What is it around your community? What are the companies that you could attract or people you could attract to live and work and play in your city? And then how much regulation do you have? Like, for example, in Lebanon, you cannot have a very high speed internet. Only the government can do it. Companies cannot do it. So when I'm thinking about building a community, I need to be aware of what the political climate is in my community. So what questions can you ask to do your assessment for political capital? You could ask, what government policies or political group could benefit or harm community development, right? If I want to be environmentally friendly, I cannot bring a company or organization to work in my community that harm the environment. So I need to know exactly what I want to do. Is the political environment stable, or is it likely to change? Again, I'm not talking about Lebanon, which I born and raised there. It's hard for me to attract companies to work in Lebanon at this point because we don't even have a president, right? We have a vacancy in the presidency for the last 16, 18 months. So the political climate is not stable, right? But there's some companies that love to be in that kind of environment, right? So like companies who manufacture weapons, it's like, okay, there's unstable environment, I want to be there. So I need to know exactly the political climate of my community. And how does the government address corporate social responsibility? Like, for example, if you want to come to the United States, the city of Coppell, we want to make sure that you're environmentally friendly. We want to make sure that you give back to the community. So if you hire 1,000 employees, we really like you to maybe offer them half a day every week or every month to volunteer in the community. So this is how we look at it. It's like, does it fit our need and does it serve our needs, right? We just don't want companies to come here or people just to live here. In order to form a community where people care about each other and know each other, we have to be aware of the political climate and make policies that encourage building a community. Then we do the economical capital. We know how the political environment looks. Now let's look at the economical capital. And the factors include community financial institution, microloan funds, community development bank, and tax revenue and grants. Right? We have multiple people across the world where they do what's called microloans. Like they do countries like India and Lebanon and say, okay, you want to develop a food stand or you want to sell eyeglasses. Let me help you with a little fund to build that, to build your business. So economical factors, we need to be thinking about those when we develop a community. Should we start encouraging businesses by establishing those micro funds? Or we don't want to care about small businesses, we just do big banks and we serve big companies. So we need to know what the economical capital it is in your community. We also could think about as community development banks or tax revenues. It's the same thing. It's like, you come work for us, we could attract a big company that come work for in the city, say, hey, you don't have to pay taxes, right? But what you could do, you have to help small businesses develop. You have to help, a small shop in the corner develop. You may either give it microloans or help them buy new equipment. So we try to form a partnership between big companies and small companies. So number one, we understood the political climate, and we form a policy that allows and encourages people to be in the city, to work in the city or the country. And number two, understand economic capital, right? So if you go to developing country, you might need to offer something like a microloan where people can develop small businesses and get their ideas out of their head into the real world. So the questions I want you to ask when you do this assessment in your community, what economic factors will affect the community in the future? You need to know what economic factors will affect the community in the future. Like after COVID, we have a different economic factors that's impacting our communities right now. I was talking to Sister earlier that it is harder for us to get international employees to work in the United States now because after COVID, a lot of policy changes. So we need to know as companies, as organizations, as government, as a city, this is a challenge. How can we deal around it? The second question you could ask is, how does performance of the economy affect our population right now? Right? Because what happened is this, in a lot of developing countries, they have a lot more kids. A lot of more kids, you have more college graduates. A lot more college graduates, you have more employees waiting to work, right? So you need to understand is like, okay, we have 20,000 people in universities today. Those 20,000 people will be looking for jobs when they graduate. Do I develop companies now to attract these people to stay in the country and work here? Because we need to be thinking almost 10, 15 years ahead when we are studying economical factors. Because in Lebanon, if you graduate, a lot of times you cannot find a job because the foundation is not there. So that's where people like me could go back and I work with, and a lot of times worked in 3 projects in Lebanon for less than 10 years to make them think about those things. It's like, okay, we have 50 universities, we have 50,000 graduates. Where are these people going to work? So in order for me to build a community, we have to build companies where these people can work and can develop and give back to the community. Because the way I want you to think about the word community is 3 things: places where you live, work, and play, right? So I need to make sure, and I'll go into that a little bit, it's places where you need to live. But next, I need to make sure you have places where you could work. And the third thing is places where you could play, what I mean by play, it's either going out to eat, going out to the supermarket or the farmer's market, or going out to play soccer, or going out, anything entertainment that improves your quality of life. If you don't do it, nothing's going to happen to you. But if you do it, it's going to improve your quality of life. So this is what I mean by a community. It's places where you work, live, and play. The third question you could ask, what is the unemployment rate? And I think we talked a little bit about it. Like, we need to understand what is our unemployment rate. If I want to start a company, I want to go to an area where it has a lot of unemployment rate because people are not working. I can attract people to work for me because they're not working. I don't have to compete with other companies. And then the second thing I will ask, will it be easy to build a skilled workforce? Where do I want to go? I want to go where the university is at. Sister and I went to UT Arlington. People like to be around this area because they know they have almost 6 to 8 universities where they could attract talent from. So as building community and a company, you need to be thinking about those kind of things. It's like, okay, universities have talent, have skilled employees. I want to be there. And that's why we're all trying to do, to develop a university and a business school. This is extremely important because where universities are, opportunities are, businesses are, and that's how communities develop and become stronger. And the third thing, will it be expensive to hire skilled labor? That depends on the situation. Unemployment, if the people are not working, it's cheaper to get them to work. If people are working, and you want them to work for your company or community, it's more expensive for them to work. Because if you want me to work somewhere else, you have to pay me enough, at least more than what I'm paid here. But if I'm not working, I don't care what you pay me, I'm going to get the job. So those economical factors. So remember, we are talking about community, places where people work, live, and play. And we talked about the political climate, we talked about the economical climate. Now let's talk about the social factors, social capital. Every community has social factors. Coming from third world countries, I know what a social factor is completely different than here in the United States. This is include local beliefs, values, history, food, festival, all of that become a social capital. When I go to Lebanon, I love when I walk down the street to our neighbor who has a food stand on the corner and get some corn from him or eat some bread from him, because I love that feeling. And that's a lot of people that appreciate that, but that becomes a social capital to the community. People would go back to that place just to talk to my neighbor who's been working on the same food stand for 30 years. And that's a social capital. Another social capital is, do we have school system? Like, can I send my kids to a school? Is the school good? Right? Because family is not going to go anywhere if the schools are not good. Is the schools good? We're going to talk about, does it have art, music, festival, dances, celebrations? All of that become what we call social capital. And that's extremely important as you build the community. You don't want to ignore that. You don't want to say, all right, I was just going to focus on the economy of it or political climate, and we're not going to take care of the social capital. Social capital is important. So having a farmer's market in your community is important. Having people who could sing and dance and festival in New Year or whatever events that you're celebrating, that's become social capital. It makes people feel better about their quality of life. So social capital, I want you to think about quality of life. And the question you need to ask, how do cultural trends and human behavior play a role in our community? You know, if you have cultures, like for example, my dad and my mother and dad live with my brother. We have a multi-generational families that live in the same house. That's a social capital. That's a cultural trends. So when we think about building a community and how to build homes or how to build apartments, we need to be thinking about it, that maybe more than one generation is going to live in that community. So when we make a policy, we need to encourage that kind of behavior, because again, it helps people work, play, and live together. And we need to understand population growth. And population growth, there's a lot of statistics that could help you to see your population growth. And you always want to know about population growth, because you want to know if we're going to grow 20, 30% in the coming 10 years, that means 20% more houses. That means 20% more houses, 20% more work companies where people need to work, 20% more even restaurants and food. We always need to think about population growth, because where population grow, economy go. Population grow, economy go. When we have more people gonna need more schools, more food, more places to play, more streets to drive on, more cars to buy, right? So where population grow, economy will go. What is the unemployment rate? And I always focus on it because it's extremely important for all of us to have access to work. Again, we're talking about a community. When we talk about community, we want places for people to live, work, and play. Live, houses, work, companies, and play. It could be anything that improves your quality of life. It could be going outside to watch a game of cricket or soccer or football, whatever you need to do, that's a quality of life. But we talked about work, play, and live. Now let's talk about technology. In order for me to attract companies and organizations, even universities to work, we need to know that technology infrastructure is there. The only reason that I'm speaking today to you guys, because we know that you at your place and my place, we have, internet that we could communicate with each other. So you need to keep that in mind when you want to attract businesses, schools, daycares, companies to work in your community. You need to know if You need to know if we have the technology infrastructure to make it work. And it could be a lot of times could be policies from the government, us. It's like, are we spending enough money to build internet fiber optics? Are we spending more money maybe to update our schools or offices with better computers, better phones? So we need technological factors in order to make sure that people could work, play, and live in our city. And how have infrastructure changes affected work patterns? Like after COVID, we have more people want to work remotely. I'm giving this presentation remotely, right? So people said, hey, I don't have to come to work at the office. I want to work from home. I don't want to come to school to study. I want to take a lecture at a webinar or a video. Well, in order for that to happen, we need technology. And a lot of times we need to be thinking about new technologies that might come, right? So AI, a lot of people are afraid that AI will take their job. And I don't think so, but this is a different presentation, right? I don't think technology is coming to after our jobs. It's actually is going to enhance what we do, But we need to be thinking about technology, right? We thought about political climate, economical climate, we talked about social, and now we're talking about technology. What about environment? Environment is just as important. Because if you live in an area where you want, let me just read this, environmental factors include all natural aspects of the community, clean water, air, wildlife, parks, lakes, good soil, and landscape. If you live in an area where you have a lot of natural beauty, you have lakes, you have beaches, you have rivers, you have clean air, you want to make sure that you are preserving that. You want to make sure, like if you have one of the cleanest air in the country, for example, you don't bring a factory there that burn hydrogen sulfide in the air, which make it very poisonous air. So you need to make sure that whatever you attract, whatever you're trying to build in your community, that fits your need. If you don't care about the environment, you could get any factory to work there, which is fine. But if you do, you need to make sure what you attract to work in your community. Do residents have access to clean water? Again, we're talking about a community. Live, work, and play. If I want to live in some place, I need clean water, I need clean air, I need clean soil. So I need to be thinking about environmental capital. Am I keeping that capital good? And now the last one, do you have a plan to create more green spaces? Green space is extremely important. And unfortunately, it's in a lot of countries, including the United States, sometimes we build what we call a concrete jungles. There's homes, 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 building, building, story. And a lot of times we don't care about green spaces. When you all get off this call, just look at Central Park in New York. You know, Central Park in New York, they were building buildings. They forgot about green spaces. At the end of it, they came in and built green spaces in the middle of the city. So we need to think about that ahead so we don't have to come back later, build green spaces, because it's important. Remember, and I know I'm repeating myself because it's extremely important. When we talk about a community, we're talking about places where people live, work, and play. In order for people to live, they need clean water, clean air, clean soil, good food. That's why we need to take care of the environment. And the last one is the legal capital. It's our legal factors that impact you building a community. Are those that emerge from changing the regulatory environment. Sometimes things change. Sometimes your city or your government requires more than one permit to operate. Like if you want to open a restaurant, they say, all right, you need a permit for restaurants, a permit for food, a permit for drinks, a permit to be there. So we need to make sure when we build a community, we don't put a lot of regulation on top of each other, which prevents people from opening their business. Do you offer intellectual property protection? Right? If I want to come to you guys, like work in Sri Lanka or in Lebanon or India or even Europe, I want to make sure that you all protect my intellectual abilities. Like if you have an idea that I write on a piece of paper, I want to make sure that you protected it for me. Not everybody can come take it away from me. That you say, okay, this is his intellectual property. Or if I have invented a new watch, I want to make sure the environment say, no, but nobody else could imitate it. It's his idea. So I want to offer protection to that. And how much employee and consumer protection do you offer? Right? Employees have rights, right? I don't want to work in an environment where they make me work 24 hours a day for no money. They will have regulation that protect employees or protect even consumers. If they buy food, am I ensuring them that that food is safe? So we talked about the political environment. We talked about economical environment, the social environment, the technological factors. We talked about environmental factors and the legal capital. So now we have the foundation, first level of foundation, how to build a community. We need, before we go into any community, and you could do the same assessment to companies, we need to know what a Vestel analysis is. It's like, let me understand all the factors that might impact this business, this community, or this university. We need to understand entire factors. And the easiest way to do it is just remember this assessment or analysis we just did right now. But when we create a community, remember, I'm repeating myself again, we create places where people live, work, and play. In order to do that, we need to create a lot of things called creating three spaces or three places. Three places is, if you think about it, in your life, there's three things that you do. There's a place where you live, a place where you work, but a lot of cities or companies or countries don't have what we call the third place. A third place is, I don't live here, I don't work here, but I go to enjoy it. It could be a cricket stadium, it could be a football stadium, it could be a coffee shop, it could be it could be a park, could be anything that I go there to enjoy, because I cannot only develop a community where people live and work, I want to give them options to enjoy their life. And third places, it's a term coined by a sociologist a long time ago and refers to the social surrounding that's separate from the two usual social environment of homes, which is first place, work is a second place. We need to create a third place for people to be there. For a lot of young adult, universities is their third place. It's the place where it's not home, it's not work, but they enjoy so much and they feel part of that community. It could be a speaking club, it could be a running club, it could be chess club. That's a third space, third place. So we need to be aware, how can we create more of those places to encourage people to build a better community? And then the most important question you need to ask yourself when you're building a community or building a company, what is our identity? What do we want to be? Like, do we want to just attract industrial to our city or government where people just make products? Like City of Detroit is known about making cars. This is their entire identity. When you go there, you know you're going to see a lot of car manufacturers. You could do commercial, is selling products. Dallas is known for selling products. We are centrally located in the United States. So a lot of people want to be here because Amazon want to be here, Mary Kay want to be here because they know we're centrally located. We could ship products anywhere in the country, and we are here in the middle. So do you want to just be a hub where people use it to sell product? Or you want to do logistic, like City of Capella is known for, again, because we're close to the airport. We actually at less than 10 kilometers from the airport. So we're known about being logistic. A lot of companies come store their products here because as soon as somebody wants something, we are in the middle, close the airport. We have a good transportation system. People want to use that. Do you want to be retail? We have you could look at Foster City, California. They are known for being a retail city. It's people go to shop. They buy clothes, they buy hats, they buy cars, they buy shoes, but they're known for that. What do you want to be known for? And that all depends on the assessment and the analysis we did earlier. If we have a lot of people that are good with manufacturing, maybe I need to be industrial city. If we have a lot of people that are good at teaching, maybe I need to be an educational city, right? If I have a lot of people that could build homes, maybe I need to be what's a bedroom community, providing homes. We have a community here that almost doesn't have any retail or any industry. Westlake, Texas, they just do bedroom communities. They develop in places where people can, mostly sleep. Just like they don't have a lot of places to work, so people have to leave the community, but they come back at the end of the night to sleep. And they offer them just the convenience, like maybe a drugstore, and maybe clothing store, but not on a big scale, just for the community, because they want to be known as a bedroom community. You could do high-rise building like in New York's. You could literally build a community that has nothing but high-rise building. That's it. This is what you want to be known for, and that's completely okay. Or you want to build a financial industry, like again, New York, something called Wall Street. The only thing they do is just financial industry. Or you could be like San Francisco, technological hub, right? So you need to be thinking, what is your identity? So you did the Bestell analysis, you knew all the factors and the capitals that you have in the community, and you kept in your mind that it's important for you to create a third place where people could go enjoy themselves, improve their quality of life. And now you need to know what's your identity and not ignore the other factors, but maybe that's where you need to focus on. It's your identity. Now, and then you get hired to build a community. What do you need to be thinking about? There's 6 things that you need to be thinking about: economic development, planning and zoning, building inspections, code compliance, environmental health, and community engagement. And I'm about to go into those little by little just to make you understand. The first section of our presentation was about what do we need to do when we build a community, but that was a concept. Now the practical side is how we do it, right? Because we want to create places where people live, work, and play. So if the only thing you remember after this call, I want you to remember, community is places where people live, work, and play. So economic development. Remember, we talked about companies, we talked about workplaces, we talked about universities, we're talking about schools, right? Number one, in order to build a community, we need to develop economic development team. And what the economic development team is recruit new businesses into your town. Hey, Apple, do you want to be here? Please come to our city and build. Because if people come to build businesses there, that means university is going to be around because there's a skilled work around. There's going to be, you're going to have to build homes for people to live that they work there. People's going to have more money to spend. So the first thing we do is economic development. It's like, all right, this is what we want to be. We know our identity. Now let's invite some companies to be in our town. So we recruit new businesses. We honestly ask them to be here in the city. And number two, after they're here, we help them retain their business here and expand. It's like, yeah, hey, you do phones? How come we build another building for you to do computers? How come we build another building to you do AirBots or something? So we always try to offer them incentive to stay in the city, because we understand if people can work here, they will live here. If they live here, they will spend their money here. If they spend their money here, everybody's happy. And a lot of times we do business incubators. And those is like what I talked about. Business incubator, we bring a lot of people, say, hey, it's your first year of business. We know you don't have money to have a building or an office. Why don't you office in this space, right? You don't have to pay me anything for a year. And I help you with some ideas about how to develop your business. This is an idea of it. It could be a microloan, which is y'all know about microloans, but it could be like a small loan that I can help somebody develop something. So number one, we do economic development, right? So economic development, we try to attract and help business stay in the city and help people start new businesses, because we understand where people live, they want to work, where they work, they spend money. And now we know we have businesses, but now we need to know, in this side of town is going to be a business. In this side of town is going to be homes. In this side of town is going to be parks. In this side of town is going to be bookstore. So how do we do that? We don't want to do it randomly, right? So we say, all right, number thing, we say, okay, we have 4 steps to plan the city or to plan the organization. We community involvement, comprehensive planning, strategic planning, and project planning and implementation. Community involvement. We could invite people to the city. Say, hey, you live here. What would you like to see in your city? What would you like to see in your government? What would you like to see in your university? We do focus group where you invite 10 to 12 people, like the pictures you see, and we tell them 10, 12 people and ask them a question. What would you like to see? Do you like what you see? What would you like to see different? Or we could do community meetings where we could invite the entire community and somebody speaks and say at the end of the day, just, hey, you can send me an email of your ideas. Or we could do needs surveys. We could literally have surveyors go from place to place to do need surveys. Or I could meet with influential people in the city one-on-one and say, hey, you've been living here a long time, you've been working here for a long time, you've been playing here for a long time. What would you like to see? What should we do? What are you hearing from people? How can serve you better? And we do that. We know what have an idea what people want to see. Now we have to do comprehensive planning. We have to do strategic plan. We have to think about it 5 to 10 years ahead, right? And now, because it's like, all right, you told me in your identify what? You told me that you want to see more businesses. Now let's build them. You told me you want to see more parks. Now let's build them. And then we have to identify the how. We have a plan. You told me what to do. Now it's my job to identify how can we make it happen. Do we have the funding? Should we call the government? Should we do business plan? Should be feasibility study and offer to the government for them to help me build that community. And I showed a plan in our city in Cypress Water. It just shows you what it is. Like, it shows you like we're gonna build something called a QT right here. It's a gas station, right? Here we divide it to different lots. Each one of those could be different things. This is gonna be retail, all this retail. We're gonna build a hotel right here. We have a mortgage company there. So now we have an idea that when we asked the community, told us we need more gas station. You told me that you need a mortgage company. You told me you need a hotel. So now I have to have a plan. And I start going to government to ask for help, or developers, rich people, to come help develop this area. And now we go back strategic planning, literally now starting even shorter term in strategic planning. We're talking about planning and zoning. We're not talking about strategic planning business. We talk about planning and zoning. We're only planning and zoning our community. And zoning is what can be built where, right? So what can we build where? We know that. You remember the QT that I showed, this piece right here? When we go to this slide, it becomes right here, this side, and this is the retail that we built. This is the hotel. This is the hotel. This, and then we build retail shops. Again, I'm gonna go back and forth. This retail shops right here became a Tim Horton coffee shop, a Popeye's chicken place, and a hotel in QT. But now I showed you what I planned, and when we came to implement it was a little bit different, but we still honored what people wanted to see. They wanted to see a gas station where they could buy petroleum. They wanted to see a coffee shop where they could go sit down and enjoy themselves, or they could Popeyes where they want to go eat. And also they want a hotel. And this is what we did. So the strategic planning is a shorter term, again, in planning and zoning, and then said, what we need to build first, what to build first. And that's what we decided to build first. We attracted, we went to QT, said, hey, would you like to be in the city? Sure. Would you like, and we got Tim Hortons. We went to all these businesses, attract them to be in the city by giving them incentive, or told them, hey, how great our city is. You have 2 universities, you have a lot of workforce. You need to be in our city. And they agreed. And this is what the plan is. And this is a real plan that we're developing right now. This is QT. You could look at it online too. So project implementation is set. Now we want to build this Quick Trip, which is QT's Quick Trip. It's a petroleum shop where you could go fill the car gas, but also buy some chocolate, candy, a drink, or even small pizza. But the community said we need to have it, and we made it happen. And that's how we attracted it. And I showed you again, from on this slide where it was just an idea. And now I showed you how it's being developed, and I showed you it's right there in real life. So this project took 3 to 5 years to do. So when we think about strategic planning and zoning, we're only thinking about 3 to 5 years, what we need to make happen at this time. And now we build it. We don't want just to build, right? So QT wasn't going to come in. The first thing we tell them, and I'll give you a picture of a site plan here, is like, hey, show me what you want to build. We call that site plan. Let's show me what you want to build. It's called a site plan. But now we want to see like how you do the plumbing in the ground, how the business is going to look. And in my city, here in our city, we care about a lot of trees. We want to be known for the city to have trees. Like, show me your landscaping. Landscaping is the green spaces around it. How are you going to build it? So we ask you, show it to me on a map, right? And then it looks like this. Show me how you're going to do the electric, the plumbing, how it's going to look, the elevation, and the landscaping, the green spaces around it. right? So we have inspectors that go out there at each of those 6 steps to make sure that those 6 steps happen, right? If you say, because we want to make sure it's clean water, we want to make sure the ground is good. I don't want you to build something and put oil on the ground or benzene on the ground, petroleum. We want to make sure water clean, air is clean, soil is clean in order for you to work, live, and play in our city. And then we have code compliance team. The code compliance team is, we built it, right? As I said, like we built it, we helped them build it correctly, we thought about it, we asked the community, we did everything that we're required to do. Now we want to make sure it stay in good shape. So we have a team of people that drives around every day to say, hey, fix your fence, your window is broken, this is broken. If you cannot help do it, let me help you connect with volunteers to do it. Like maybe volunteers come fix your windows or fix your house, anything that we could help if you cannot afford it. We want to make sure that people are not building crazy ideas with the zoning requirements. Again, zoning is what can be built where. We want to make sure that our city is planned correctly. We want to make sure that we do rental inspections to make sure if you live in a place that the landlord's not abusing you, it's providing with you clean water, air, its environment is good. So that's what we want to do. Again, I do realize I'm talking about the United States, which like some of these things in Lebanon, it's a luxury, right? But I'm just giving you the idea how we do it in the United States, and y'all could take ideas from here and there, minimize it or change it to your needs and make it happen. But you need to have at least somebody who checks. If you have a lot of rental properties, maybe go get government and say, we need really to do laws and regulation to make sure that landlords are not abusing their tenants, the people who live there. And in this picture of me on the right, probably, I want to say 15 years ago, doing demonstration for teaching health inspections, how to do restaurant inspection, how to make sure his food is good, right? During COVID, I did a lot of health seminars talking about COVID and how you protect yourself. We have a team that does vector control, just going out there, making sure if the environment has viruses or has vectors like mosquitoes or ticks or bed bugs, make sure we're treating that correctly. If we have pools in the city, make sure it's safe. Make sure we have solid waste recycling program, right? If you have everybody eats and everybody have trash, we want to make sure that we know where the trash is going. I don't want the trash to be going to our river or to our creek or to our beaches. I want to make sure that we take that trash and have a landfill or a place where we throw all those trash. And about the community engagement, this is the easiest thing to do because now we build a community, right? We build places where people could live, work, and play. Now we want to make sure that they enjoy staying there. That's the social capital we talked about earlier. It's like, hey, we have something called the yard of the month. We have people drive into the city and they see a beautiful yard, somebody who has flowers. He say, you know what? We'll give you a sign that said the yard of the month. We ask people to vote on it. It's like, okay, this is a beautiful yard. Let's reward them, right? This forces people to talk to each other, drive around their neighborhood to see if there's something beautiful or out of place and reward that. We do something called neighbor helping neighbors. I talked about sometimes people have a project in their house that they cannot do. It could be a fence, it could be a broken window, it could be a tree broken outside. We ask the communities like, hey, once or twice a year, if you have time, would you volunteer to help an elderly person, for example, that have a project inside their house? Last year, our city is about 40,000 people. We were able to get about 1,000 people out here to help. So one out of 4 people said, I want to help someone. And that's a picture of one of the churches and the mosque here. They said, you know what, we want to come help. And they did. They brought 40 people with them and they went to 4 different homes and they helped them build something, clean up a backyard, clean up a house, clean a window, whatever the project is, but we do. But that forces people to talk to each other. Remember, we're creating places where people live, work, and play. In order to play, we need to provide a quality of life. In order to do that, we need to make sure people are talking to each other. In order to do that, we have to develop programs that forces people to talk to each other. One of the programs is the Yard of the Month. It's like, hey, drive your neighborhood and see if you have a beautiful yard, and hey, let us know, maybe we reward the yard. We ask people, hey, if you have a project that you cannot complete, let us know. We'll try to connect you with volunteers. And we have other projects that we do to build a community. But I plan to speak for 45 minutes, so I don't want to take more time. Sister, do you all, and if you all have any question, I'll be more than happy to answer it. And hopefully you remember, when you build a community, it's about creating places where people could live, work, and play. So you cannot build one without building the other. And you need to be think not just only where people gonna live, they need places where they could buy grocery. Where people gonna work, they need to know there's university close by where people train people gonna come work for them. Where they want to play is things that they enjoy, but you need to create opportunities for people to engage with each other. You need to create programs to talk to each other. It could be a festival, it could be a religious holiday, whatever that is. You need to be able to create those places, spaces, and opportunities for people to talk to each other. Sister, hopefully I've did a 360 view of what community involvement is.
Yes, Mr. Royal. I think it's everything was spot on, and everything was clear. I don't think anyone would have any questions on this, because you explained everything like very clearly, all the theories, all the things that you should cover in the community development process, right? And yeah, we'll see whether anyone has any questions. So the audience, if you have any questions, and now it's time for you to raise those questions.
You could type it if you don't want to speak, but just let me know. And if you could, the sister could reach me too, and I can answer his questions if y'all have a follow-up questions.
Yep.
I just want to, for somebody who grew up in third world countries, I know how important the work you're about to do. People need your help. There's somebody out there that need your help, and you could help somebody. That could be helping somebody crossing the road, or helping a small business start their first sale. Somebody need your help. The work that you're doing, it's amazing. We need more people like you to do what you do. So I don't want you to ever look down at yourself, say, hey, I'm doing this in a small town, or I'm doing this in a small street. It doesn't matter. The biggest change you could make is yourself. Once you start with yourself, everything changes. Don't wait on the government to change their programs or plans to help your community. You have what it takes now, and don't wait. There's somebody out there needs your help. It could be a cousin, it could be a friend, it could be your next door neighbor. Because if you want to build a community, you're going to start with that first. I don't want to point the fingers at other people, say they could do it, while my brother and my neighbor needs help. Community development starts with me, starts now, start with my house, with my next door neighbor, and that's how it starts. And I know the government could do more, but we're not going to blame nobody. We got to do it first. Yes, sister.
Yeah, that's true. So being a developing country, that Sri Lanka is a very I would say a developing country. So we are still trying to learn things from the other countries like US and other countries, right? The developed countries, and we try to adopt the best practices, and we try to benchmark everything from them. So today's webinar was a great benchmark, and that was the standard, right? That's the standard and the best practice, right, in the world. So I think we learned a lot from your presentation, and I'm not sure whether we have included these things in our undergraduate degree curriculums. So we need to include these things in our undergraduate degree curriculums in order to give that knowledge to our students, especially the undergraduates, because now we have a bunch of undergraduates here in this webinar who are following the social sciences degree, right? They're undergraduates in social sciences. Their specialty is in social sciences. So we have a bunch of jobs out there in especially in the state sector in Sri Lanka, related to community development, how to develop a community, and and related areas. So they should have this knowledge in order to develop their communities, their cities, their areas. So they have to have that knowledge. So I think it was a wonderful presentation, and I strongly believe that everybody got the idea and the best practice. So we consider this as the best practice and the benchmark to develop the communities in Sri Lanka as well. So we have a bunch of students in this webinar, so I'm pretty sure that they learned a lot within this, I think, 45 minutes. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so I would like to finally, I would like to thank you so much for taking your valuable time and doing this webinar for us. So that would be it was a great help for us, and
happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Then we'll stop.
All right. Thank you. Have an amazing day, everybody.
You too. Thank you so much.